Welcome to Holding Space. Michael ZInn is a visual producer and creative photographer using his imaginative visionary energy to channel ZInn and hold space for spiritual and innovative discussion. Each episode creates a supportive, accepting, and open environment that allows exploration and expertise to come together with engaging and entertaining convergence. With guest and community all helping the shape of the way, Michael is grateful to be together to hold space. Now here is your host of Holding Space, Michael ZInn.
Oh, yes, here I am. Hello, I made it. You made it. And I am Michael ZInn. I love what Todd says about holding the way and shaping the space and community. And I got caught up in listening to the narration, and I forgot to put myself in the picture. But welcome. You are here holding space. That means it's Tuesday. It happens to be September 2nd. That's what we all agreed to call it, so we would all know when to show up. It's just a concept, really, September 2nd. But anyway, I'm glad you decided to show up. I'm glad the intention is to be here. I see Jennifer Rose out there, #live. Yes, reminding me that if you are watching and you are watching live, it is September 2nd. In fact, then please type #live into the comments. What that'll do is tickle the algorithm, let the algorithm know that there's something going on that makes it feel good, makes it want to laugh, and help out and grow the community, because that's what we're trying to do here. And I see Brenda Lucas out there saying hello, Arnie Layton typing live, Amanda typing live. Funny story, Arnie Layton said, "Hello, Professor ZInn, how are you?" And I got to tell that funny story. I made a comment or something on Facebook, and a friend of mine commented, "Professor ZInn." And I thought that was funny because he's a little bit gifted. I'm talking about my friend Angelo. And I don't think he knew that I actually was a professor at SUNY Farmingdale for a couple of years. I was an adjunct professor teaching Photoshop and Illustrator and all of that stuff. And then that led to my nickname in a band that I was playing in being called the Professor. They called me the Professor in the band. So I said, "That's funny that you made that comment. You must be gifted," which is really cool. I think it's an interesting moment in time. Let me just talk about what holding space is about, and just talk about this moment for a moment intentionally. We are in the middle of experiencing a shift. Now, if you are here on the Sacred Spiral Network, which you are probably, shout out to Kelly Brickle for something amazing that she's created, this community. You're probably living from the heart, right? So if you're living from the heart and you're experiencing the shift, which I'm sure you are, it's probably more of a positive experience, right? But there's a lot of people living out of fear, and they're experiencing the shift too, but maybe not having as much of a time. So what I would say as people who are living out of the heart is, let's just be compassionate, right? Let's just have compassionate for everybody who's going through this shift. This shift is all about perception. It's all about the way you see things. I feel like, this is just my opinion, it's all about opening up to new ways of seeing things. It's being able to see things in new ways. And I think that people who are living out of fear are afraid to see things in new ways, and maybe that's why. And so again, just let's have compassion. I know that it's interesting. I know that people who live out of love aren't usually argumentative on social media and on these platforms, so I'm not really even talking about that. You guys are here. I love these platforms for this very purpose, to connect us, which is what holding space is all about. It gives me an opportunity to hold space for another amazing individual on this planet, and it's like I'm getting to meet everybody one by one. Originally, I had the live stream of consciousness was because I had a lot of friends who were psychic mediums and Akashic records readers and channelers, and had all these incredible metaphysical gifts and connections that I just needed to explore. And now I'm doing it here on the Sacred Spiral Network. I'm super grateful to Kelly Brickle and the network, and all of you guys who are here exploring it too, intentionally. Did I even breathe in the last 3 minutes? I don't think I did. I think I just said all of that stuff because I'm excited to be here. Let me just open up the space really quickly before I bring in my guest. And you guys know my other special guest, Sage, my singing bowl here. I love to open up the space, and I love to ask you guys to just connect and take 3 deep breaths with me, right? So as I'm hitting the bowl and ringing the bowl, I want you to breathe in through your nose, like a 3 or 4 count, and just hold it up at the top, and then feel yourself push it out, right? Seems a little funny, maybe, not to people who do it as a practice, but it really feels good. And by the 3rd one, we're all connected, we're all grounded, we're all in the same space. So let's take a couple of breaths together. Here we go. Breathe in. Push it out. Let it go. Breathe in another one. Feel it. Push it out. Let it go. One more time, just together. Let it all go. Now, I know I say this all the time. The bowl is still ringing here right in front of me. Sometimes the sound ducks it out so you don't hear it for the length of the time, but it's just so magical. And thank you for doing that with me. Thank you for indulging me with that. So anyway, Ronnie Shabazian, what is up, my friend? Good to see you here. We got a nice house full of people here. I'm not really sure what we're going to be doing as far as readings tonight, so just bear with me. But I do have a very special psychic medium guest with me tonight, and I want to introduce to you guys to Courtney Dawson. Let me just go. I had this up here before, and now I lost it. Oh, here it is. So Courtney has studied with some world-renowned mediums, Eileen Davies, Tony Stockwell, and James Van Praagh, and also has her own school, which I love, the name of the Connected Spirit School. One thing I talk about all the time is how we're all connected, right? I'm here, I'm having my experience, I'm transmitting, and you're here. You're having your experience, you're receiving, but we're connected, we're experiencing this together. It's an energetic exchange, and I believe that about everything. And I believe my guest does too, so we're going to talk all about that. I'm going to learn all about Courtney Dawson as I welcome her to Holding Space. Welcome to Holding Space, Courtney Dawson.
Michael, so good to meet you and to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. I love this community growing. I love getting to meet so many people with such amazing gifts. And the thing I love about the community, I guess I mentioned it, is so many people in this community truly live from the heart, and that's such an important thing, you know. It's something that you can feel, you know, when you're interacting with people, and I feel like it grows. It's that whole idea of raising the vibration, you know. It's like as your vibration raises, and the bowl, when I hit the sound bowl and I feel the vibration, it's just such a great connection. Jennifer Rose is saying Courtney, and you got KB out there saying hello. A bunch of people welcoming you to this space.
Thank you, everybody, for the love.
So, as I said, I'm just meeting you for the first time. I love that aspect. So I don't really know your story other than a little bit of the research I was doing, you know, looking at your website and knowing about the Connected Spirit School. But I would love for you to give us a little bit of history. I know I also billed you on the show as an evidential medium. So let's start with that. I know a lot of the Sacred Spiral audience knows what kind of medium is what, but let's start with that for people who are tuning in and may not know what the difference is.
You bet. So there's different types of mediumship. There's actual hundreds of different types of mediumship, but specifically evidential mediumship is that the medium, so the person that is connecting with a discarnate soul, a spirit communicator from the world unseen, is bringing through messages that contain pieces of evidence that help validate who the spirit communicator is, how they're connected to the recipient, and verifiable information that they would have no means being able to research or come up with their own. It's very specific. It could be manner of passing, relationship to the sitter, what their hobbies were, what their likes, dislikes, information that you couldn't find on Google or a social media page. Some moments that were so important, so monumental in the recipient and in the spirit communicator's life that was only known between the two people. So it's about bringing through the evidence of soul survival to give evidence that the soul continues beyond bodily death. And for me, I think the evidential mediumship is so much more than just the evidence and the facts and the objective information. Sure. It's really about enlightening the soul that inhabits the human form, because I mean, our world, if we look at it, it's just inundated with negativity and fear. And when we realize that we're these souls having a human experience, we are eternal, we're limitless. Nothing can hurt us. We can't die for the life of us. Then it shifts the way that we view ourselves, how we show up in the world, how we interact, and it removes fear and replaces it with freedom. So evidential mediumship is so much more than just the communication. And I love it to bits.
I love it. And thank you so much for that very loving explanation of it. And it is very simple and clear, but I know, again, a lot of times even I forget, right? Like, what's the difference between a medium and a psychic, and even those differentiations.
Yeah.
But it's right in the word evidential medium. You bring through a message that contains evidence of this, of this connection to where the message is coming from, which is beautiful. I love that.
For sure.
So when did you discover that you could do something like that?
I've always had an awareness of spirit, Michael. And to be honest, when I say that, I didn't know that these people were actually spirits, because I always saw them objectively. So for your listeners, there's two different types of clairvoyance. So clairvoyance means, number one, the ability to see beyond your physical sight, right? It's your second sight. And with true clairvoyance, there's two different kinds. There's objective, which means you're seeing the image, the person, with your eyes. Your eyes are wide open and you're seeing them. Then there's subjective, which means you're seeing images or like movie trailer scenes, but inside your head. You might think it's like your imagination. So I had the latter. So for a long time, my earliest recollection, I was too seeing spirits, telling my mom, telling people, did you see them? Did you hear that? And they're like, there's nobody there. There was people there. I was the only one who could see them. So I didn't actually know what that was. And I grew up in a Christian home, Michael, and I'm 45. So we didn't have internet back in the day when I was a teenager. I didn't have the language or the resources that we really have today. And we're really, really fortunate for. So it wasn't until I was in my early 30s and went through a divorce and had a massive spiritual awakening that I really went on this quest to figure out what the heck was going on. What did this mean? And it just unfolded from there into something that I could have never, ever foresaw at all. It's just incredible.
Yeah. I like the way you described that too, right? That you didn't have the language for it. And then once you kind of tried to figure that out, it started to open up more to you, because now it was a language, right? It became a language that you were able to communicate through. It's interesting too what you're talking about, and I like that you described the objective and the subjective, because a good friend of mine, Christopher Allen, describes his process, and a lot of times he's getting kind of like clues, right? Like he'll see like a jersey with a certain number on it that represents a birthday, you know what I mean? Or a certain football player, right? That represents that jersey's number, like certain things that he's figured out the language of, like what it means and how to bring through a message through that vision that he's seeing, right?
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy because all of us work with spirit differently. We all receive differently, but unless we have someone that's there to support us and give us that understanding, it kind of feels like charades, or we're taking pieces of a puzzle, but we're not sure where to put it. And
Mhm.
so this is where, when I went on that spiritual awakening and kind of went down the rabbit hole, I ended up finding myself at a spiritualist church, got a mentor who was incredible. I worked with her for 8 years and sat in a development circle
Mhm.
for 7, that I was able to get the understanding, remove the fear that I had, which is really common for a lot of people. And it's not that I was scared of spirit. I just had fear because I didn't know what the heck was going on. And so this is where knowledge is really powerful. So people that are like, I'm too nervous about figuring out what this is, I promise you, knowledge, education, tapping in with a mentor is pivotal, and it'll replace all of that trepidation with peace. At least
Mhm.
it did for me, and it does for my students. So,
Yeah, no, and I haven't seen it really affect anybody adversely.
no.
Some of that stuff. But you said some things that are interesting there, and I would love to just talk about like kind of the meaning of these things, right? So you said a
Yeah.
spiritualist church. I saw this in the description, in your about, and I find language and words very interesting, right? Because spirituality and religion, they do overlap, but they also don't overlap, right? For some people, they're kind of separate, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
They can butt
Um,
heads. Yeah.
yeah. So what is a spiritualist church? It's not any sort of denominational religion or secular. What is it exactly?
It's actually a recognized, organized religion. So it is.
It's a
And
spiritualist is its own
yeah,
religion. Okay.
yes,
Okay. Okay.
absolutely. And it's recognized in Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom, all across the world.
Okay.
So it is, so people can identify as a spiritualist, but with a lowercase s. And then those that identify as a spiritualist with a capital S are the ones that are associated with the religion of spiritualism.
Okay.
So spiritualists are churches and centers. They're very predominant in the United Kingdom. I know Nancy and Jennifer Rose know about these, and they are beautiful places where we can go. And there will be very similar setup to like a regular church service.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
grew up Christian. So,
Mhm.
there's like someone giving a sermon, but in a spiritualist church, we don't give sermons. So
Mhm.
there will be some songs that are played, some prayers, there will be an intention, and then there'll be, instead of a sermon, there'll be an address. And that address is really an inspirational talk from the medium, and they will work with their spirit friends to bring through really an inspired talk. An address is really an inspired talk. And it could be on anything, but it's usually a philosophical type. It's about um, tapping into the soul of who you are, that limitless
Mhm.
being.
Mhm. Mhm.
It
Mhm.
could be anything, could be
Mhm.
anything really, what the spirit world wants to share. And then there'll
Mhm.
be a demonstration of mediumship. So proof of
Mhm.
survival. And it's pretty powerful. I mean, that's
Mhm.
where I had my beginnings. And when I had my awakening and found myself there, and it was just like I came home, I was like, oh my gosh, somebody understands me. I'm not being judged. I'm being accepted. People are
Mhm.
giving me the answers that I've been looking for 30 plus years. And it was so incredible. And spiritualism, I know we talk to the so-called dead people, but they're really not dead. They're just people that don't have bodies, for
Mhm.
those that
Mhm.
are listening.
Mhm.
But spiritualism is a way of life.
Mhm.
They have the 7 principles, and they're adapted just depending if you're in Canada, the United States, the United Kingdom. But essentially they're not guidelines, but there's principles. So, Christians have
Okay.
the 10 commandments.
Mhm.
Spiritualism will have their principles, and it is to help you really live an inspired, spirit-led life,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I love it. And it is, honestly, it saved me when I was going through some of the darkest nights in my own personal life,
That's
and it
great.
helped give me my life back. And I see this for people all of the time. Now, do you have to be a medium to be a spiritualist?
Mhm.
No.
Mhm.
But the ministers are mediums because they're bringing through that inspiration from the spirit, and they're also doing the demonstration of mediumship too.
I love this because I actually feel like I'm sitting down at a desk in school right now, and I'm going to ask you some questions. I really want to learn about
Yeah.
this because
Yeah.
I have my own thoughts and experiences and ideas about all of this, right? Religion, what's
Yeah.
religion? I was born into Judaism. I grew
Yeah.
up as a Jewish guy. I had a bar mitzvah, and then I was given the
Yeah.
the choice, do you want to continue your religious studies? And I said, you know what? I feel like at that point, I said, organized religion is not for me. The way it's being presented to me, it just, there were certain things that I questioned, right?
Yeah.
So when I asked you about, when I said it doesn't follow a specific religion, and you said it is its own religion, right? I guess that just made me reframe the question, and that was, there's not a specific deity, or is
There
there?
so okay. So
Yeah.
in the UK, their first principle is the fatherhood of God.
Okay.
And let me back up first.
Okay.
So the principles are very foundational. I'm actually going to grab something. Bear with me.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah. No worries. This is great.
so when I was training in the ministry of the Spiritualist Church, they had their own 7 principles, but they adapted them so they used more modern language. So the
Okay.
7 principles were given to an incredible medium, Emma Harding Britton, back in the 1800s. And through her mediumship, she channeled these principles from the spirit world. And it was actually through the communicating spirit of Robert Owen. And so those became the foundation of the religion of spiritualism. And why we call it a religion is because we understand that there is a creator, a source known as God. Could call it source, universe, whatever. So a religion has a deity or source, a God figure, if you will, that they not necessarily worship, but they look to for guidance, support, protection, whatever.
Consider the source.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So in spiritualism, the original principles are the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood of man. And I'm having to look at this because when I was training, we didn't use the original. Communion of spirits and the ministry of angels, the continuous existence of the human soul, personal responsibility, compensation and retribution hereafter for all the good and evil deeds done on earth, eternal progress open to every human soul. And when I was in the Spiritualist Church, still a minister at the place where I got ordained, we had those switched just so they were more modern, a little bit more gender neutral or gender friendly. A divine source recognized as God, the unity of all life, the communion with and guidance from the spirit world, the continuous existence of the soul, personal responsibility for every thought, word, and action, reward and consequence for all deeds according to God's natural laws, and eternal progress open to every soul. Now, whether somebody, in my belief, is whether somebody wants to be considered a spiritualist or not, I think anybody can benefit from this because something within our innate nature is that we've always looked to mysticism or religion for that connection to that greater power. And something in us innately knows there's something there. And this is where religion is really cool, is because we go on this discovery to find what that truth is for ourselves. And regardless if my truth resonates for somebody else, if it works for me, it makes me a better human, cool. If your religion makes you a better human and you contribute to society, to the betterment of humankind, brilliant. I love that for you, right? And so I think religion can be really, really powerful in that it can bring, and in just my opinion, that it should bring unity between you, your soul, because you're a triune being, but also to that connection with you and your creator, but also with humanity, with the planet, with the dirt, the minerals, the air, like the animal kingdom, right? Like there's so much more than just worshiping and doing a tithing every Sunday. So,
yeah, no, I love it. And thank you so much for all of that. And let me process that because, I think that has very similar to a lot of the philosophies that I follow, for a long time. And it made me think a lot about words, right? And the things that we call certain things and the power that holds, especially the word God. I think the word God for me was something that I struggled with in the capacity or in the context of organized religion, right? The concept of God I didn't struggle with. I believe that there's a source, of all. So that concept didn't bother me, but the personification of the concept bothered me, and certain things I struggled with. But as I worked through certain things, that for a while I replaced it with the universe and things that made more sense to me. But in doing that, that gave me the ability to come around and understand that God is a word, and if I can assign that same meaning to it, then I can get that same feeling from it, right? And you just made me realize that the word religion is one of those words too, because I think for me, there is this kind of negative connotation to the word because of the negative aspects that do exist within organized religion. Now, that also in that whole thing, you said, something about these principles would benefit anybody. Well, I think the basic principles of what religion are, which is do unto others as you would want, to do unto you, them to do unto you. That's a basic principle of religion. That I agree with 1,000,000%. I have no problem with that. And I should reframe the word religion as that, as doing unto others, as the next concept that I'm going to ask you about, which is the idea of one. In spiritualism is the idea that we are all one, because I know you have Connected Spirit School, and there's obviously this allusion towards connection and being connected. So what's the relationship between spirit and self?
So the spirit world actually gave me the name for my podcast, and then I ended up starting my school, so the Connected Spirit, and it was about that connection with ourselves, because we are a triune being. I grew up Christian, so I mean, I was taught about the Trinity, right? God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the whole thing. But when I sat with spirit about it, Michael, they gave to me, they're like, our society, they're like, your society has created such a disconnect from within people, from their own selves. And this is why people are reaching to spirituality and stuff for that remembrance, to bring that unity back in. And through contemplation, meditation, and just that communion with the spirit, it's about connecting to your own soul first. We want to seek out spiritual modality. We want to do some sort of divination. We want to take the next class and learn how to connect and raise our vibration and ascend and become enlightened. But that's not sustainable if you don't have awareness of self, connection with your own spirit. And so it's kind of like your foundation is connecting with yourself instead of just skipping to connect with spirit, right? And this is a philosophy that Spirit World's given me, and I teach in my school as well. Let's get you connected with you so you can have that relationship with self. You have that discernment of who you are, what resonates for you, without any outside influences first. And then being able to connect to the energy and the soul of the collective of other people. So for a medium, being able to recognize your energy versus the energy of your recipient, and being able to differentiate all of the different frequencies that are going on, and then being able to then bring in a spirit communicator. Because in a mediumship reading, there's a minimum of 4 energies. There's the medium, their guide, then there's the recipient, and at least one of their loved ones. If you don't understand your own energy, you're going to get muddled in these other 3 connections. And so this is where spirits like Courtney, people want quick results, but quick results aren't always sustainable. You got to give them a foundation. It's kind of like, building the house on sand. The tide comes in, it's going to wash it away. You want a house that's built on solid ground, so when the winds come, it stays. And this is what's the basis of my philosophy of the Connected Spirit. It's about honoring thyself, knowing thyself, and then being able to be in the presence of other energies, hold space for them, but maintaining your groundedness and centeredness within your own soul being, not just your physical body. And so I do believe that we're all connected because we're all extensions or representations or created in the image of our creator, right? We're like a diamond. How many girls out there, we like a nice diamond, right? There's all different facets on it, but all of the different facets make up the beauty of that entire diamond or that stone.
I love that
right?
metaphor. Yeah.
And so that's what we are. So I'm one facet. Michael,
Mm-hmm.
you're another.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly,
Mm-hmm.
Bernadette, Jennifer, Nancy, all these other people, they're
Mm-hmm.
facets.
Yep.
We're different expressions of the source. And so this is where that connection, that sacred connection that we can have by having open, candid conversations like we are. Maybe there's some similarities, maybe there's some differences. Cool. But we're learning from one another. And it's about celebrating the differences, but also recognizing that there's a commonality, and let that commonality bring us closer to one another and bring in that healing and really represent the love and light in the love and light.
I love it. I love it. I love it so much. I think that's you're really like tickling my funny bone, so to speak, with the philosophy of just that, right? Like, existing as a collective for the collective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anything that I do is going to affect the collective. So if I am self-destructive, it's going to affect the collective, even though I may, in that experience, I may just think like, screw everyone. I'm just screwing myself, but not realizing like people who care about me are being affected, and whatever other effects it might have. And the same thing as if I heal myself, and then I start to walk through the world with a positive attitude and a smile, how that's going to have its effect on the collective. I think that really, everything that you just said really ties right into my philosophies. And I think it's interesting how that philosophy crosses over with so many of the things that I was talking about earlier, metaphysical modalities that are also different, right? People who channel entities, is different than somebody who might bring across a message from a past loved one. But to me, I see that all as the same vibration of love and energy, and it's why I do this, why I have these conversations, why I love talking to people like you, and intentionally creating moments like this. I think it's amazing that we can even do that, and it's starting to become clearer to me all the time that's what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Is talking to people like you, to bring people like Lynn and Bernadette and Athena and all the people I see in the audience, Kelly, who's out there, also amazing, just to have this moment. We're all connected, we're all experiencing this moment together, and I think it's very powerful. So thank you for all of that.
It's really powerful, because there's so many reasons where we can feel separated from one another. There's a lot of reasons that we could turn into excuses. And this is where I love the one principle of spiritualism is personal responsibility for every thought, word, and action. It's not just about us. It's about what happens to me, what happens to you has a ripple effect. It's just like the analogy of raindrops dropping in the ocean. That water has a ripple effect. And those that are in the water, they feel that vibration too. So this is where we have to be very conscious about our thoughts, our words, and actions, because they're containers for power. And we're really in a position that in every moment we can take responsibility and transform our lived experiences. And if that doesn't give you the goosebumps, I don't know what is. We need to bring up the paddles and go.
It does. And you know what? I've been thinking about this in my head for the last couple of days, and I'm being guided to tell this story about my own experience with exactly that, right? And this is something, folks, a lot of people who I have shows with, they're like, oh, give a reading, Mike, you could do it. And I'm not a psychic medium. I don't practice that. I mean, we are all psychic mediums. I don't practice it normally, but this little philosophy and this little story, I think, is important. So every day you go out into the world and you talk about be accountable, right? For your actions, for your thoughts. You're going to encounter somebody either saying to you, or you're going to say to someone, hey, how you doing? How's it going? That moment right there became critical to me, because I would start to notice when I was saying, I'm hanging in there, or sarcastically living the dream, or some sort of remark that was like not good, right? Like not the answer of how you doing. I'm doing great. When I started to intentionally notice, oh, someone just asked me how I'm doing. I'm going to tell them I'm awesome, but I'm not going to just say it to say it. I'm going to bring myself to a thought of something that I'm grateful for and why, and be awesome. I'm going to be awesome in this moment that I'm answering the question. And it was just a practice that I intentionally did, and it changed my life. It changed the energy that came to me. It changed the energy that I put out. It changed who I was. And it was just a little, very, very simple intention, and then notice, just being aware of that moment and the power in that exchange of, hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? Certainly, listen, if I had a million things going on, I could take that moment and be like, okay, I'm going to let it out. I'm going to tell this person, yeah, I got this going on and that going on. And that's okay too. I'm not saying don't do that if that's what you're feeling. But all I'm saying is do a little experiment, and not use particularly, but you could do this too, is when someone says, how you doing, say that and see what the response is. Or a lot of times I'll ask people how they're doing, and they'll say, I'm hanging in there. And I'll be like, oh, that's not my favorite answer. You know what I mean? Or they'll say, I'm doing great. And I'll be like, oh, that's one of my favorite answers. Like I'll magnify that moment. You know what I mean? Whichever way it needs to go to bring that awareness. So that's one thing that I just wanted to say. I feel like I've been needing to say that, on this platform. And then the other thing that you're saying also is, I feel like as I've done these kinds of things and come into this kind of awareness and those practices that you talk about, those principles, you start to see your reflection in everybody. You start to see yourself in everybody. And that is such a beautiful feeling, I think, for me personally. When I'm in a place and I start to see my reflection everywhere, I'm just like, wow, what an amazing, beautiful world this is. You know what I mean? And I'm going to say one more thing just before I hand it back over to you, is even in a recent experience of traveling and being on a plane and sitting next to a couple who was just having a hard time. They were just like, oh, this screen is not working. They were complaining to the hostess, and like, and I'm just like, man, I feel bad. Like, you can do that. You can handle. I wanted to say something, but I was like, they're not even going to hear me if I tell them, like, you can handle it that way or you cannot. You can decide.
Yeah.
I let them handle it that way because that's what they needed to do. But like, even that, being aware of that and seeing your own reflection in that, it's
Totally.
an amazing thing. It really is.
Yeah, it can show us what still needs to be healed. So instead of having judgment about other people, we can go, wow, if someone else is triggering you go, wow, that's an area for me to be healed. Or your response to somebody's behavior, like what you're saying, that really shows how much that you've actually done inner work and are able to go, you know what, that's really not appropriate. We can also be the witness of it, but not be involved in it too. And I'm just going to say something else. You're talking about how people can reframe their comments of how they're doing. I love that. And it's just a confirmation of what Spirit's been telling me through a TV show I'm watching. It's this like sitcom.
Cool.
And and this grandma always says, I love her. She's this like spicy 75-year-old Tennessee lady. And I just love her. And people ask her, how you doing? I'm blessed, she says. And I go, ooh, it just resonates with me. Right. So
there's so much power in that.
Yeah.
Like, you're calling that into existence just by saying, hey, that's going to be my response because that's how I feel, right? It's like creating your own reality. That's been a big theme for me the last couple of weeks, is creating your own reality just through perception and thought and attitude. I think that's great. I do have a question here. Bernadette says, if you get a chance, can you please talk about mental illness and spirit? I really don't understand why I have the gifts I do with mental illness. Makes me feel more nuts. Not everybody believes me. So I'm sure that you've probably encountered some people, especially at the beginning, questioning what you were going through.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I would say we would need to have more information, and that would probably go outside of the scope of the show today and the conversation we're having. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Understandable. Yeah.
I would say that. And I would say if there's mental health issues, we certainly want to have those looked at by a medical professional for sure to get that evaluated. I mean, people have these experiences and they don't know if there is something wrong with their mental health. Always seek that out. Don't have shame around that, right? And if it comes back, no, you're fine, then we start exploring, okay, how do we help you understand your abilities, embrace them, remove the fear, help you get grounded in them? And just because you have an awareness of the spirit does not mean you have to communicate with them, FYI. Like, everybody thinks that, I shouldn't say everybody, but it's very common for people to think, well, if I'm seeing spirits and they're giving me messages, I have to do this work. No, you don't. You have free will.
I love that.
Nobody's twisting your arm, but if you feel that it's your soul calling, like you're meant to do this work, then you find a mentor and then you develop that. But there are things you can do to learn how to really manage it, right? And the thing of it is that the people that see spirits, communicate with spirits, I don't think we're special. I think we all have this ability to varying degrees. It's just whether we choose to like focus on that, give attention to it, or we put our energy and efforts elsewhere, right? So it's more, it's a complex question there.
But beautifully put, really beautifully put. And, just the other aspect of that, right? Like people hearing spirits and thinking, oh my God, I must have to do this, must be my calling, and drawing those boundaries, right? My wife is a medium, and I know very much about, boundaries and when it's appropriate to let him in, not let him in. You're still a human being having your own experience, right? It's not like your duty. It's just something that if you feel like it enriches you and then the people around you, and that's what you want to do, then you pursue it. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
I think that's really put very well. Thank you. I have several friends who are exceptionally gifted, but find it a complete annoyance. They send spirits away or try to hide from them much of the time because their life focus is elsewhere. And Courtney, I guess you're saying that's okay, which it is, of course.
It is okay.
Of course.
And because what I've learned through my work as a professional medium, but also from many of the amazing mentors that I've had, there's no such thing as an urgent message. Meaning, if you sense the spirit world, it doesn't mean that you have to open up and communicate or pass along the message. No, if you say, I'm sorry, I'm not available, please find someone who can help you. And always say this respectfully too. Remember, spirit's looking for a voice to communicate on their behalf. Just let them know. They're going to respect that. Spirit will always have someone be able to help them. And if it's not you, don't worry about it. Don't feel guilty. They are okay. They're going to be okay. Yeah. Someone will help them. I promise.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Courtney, I love everything that's coming through you right now, the way that you're processing all of this. And obviously the way that you see this and feel what you feel. Let me ask you a question. We didn't talk about this. I should have asked you this earlier. Do you do readings only live? Do you do readings online like this? Is this an environment where you would be able to do a reading, or?
You know what? I'm going to say tonight, I'm going to say I'm not available to do readings only because I do them, but I'm still recovering from some pretty big surgery that I had a couple of months ago. So I'm still building up my spiritual stamina. So maybe next time I come back, I would love to do that.
Well,
but right now I'm still working on that. Yeah.
Now I have a reason to invite you back.
Yeah.
Because I know, again, just a little shout out to Kelly and what she's created here with the Sacred Spiral Network. There's an amazing audience out there, all you guys who are out there who really, authentically, come with your hearts. And I know a lot of people are looking for readings on off in time, but it's just great to be in a community where we do have this ability to offer that, and again, because of my wife, I know that there's definitely times when, respectfully, listen, I know I have the gift, but it's sleeping. The gift is sleeping right now, which is fine. So I wish you speedy recovery, and
thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you back at it, as soon as you can be.
I'm chomping at the bit. And, it's been very, very hard for me because I had a big surgery in May, but the physical recovery, the energetic recovery of building up that stamina has taken a lot. And so when I come back, I want to be at full capacity and not have any setbacks. Cause I did have a setback a little while ago when I did some mediumship, and Spirit said, girl, not yet. And I'm like,
Not
because
yet.
you get that energy building up, and you need to move it as
Yeah,
psychics, as mediums, we need to move it. But
I could imagine.
soon,
I
hopefully.
could
Yeah.
imagine. So Bernadette is asking a question, and this actually brings up something for me. Another question for me. The question is, how do I deal with wandering? I'm imagining wandering spirits. And before you answer, Bernadette, I've just recently heard about this whole idea of psychopomp. Are you familiar with that terminology?
I've heard of it.
A
I've had someone
psychopomp.
on my show talk about it, but I don't know anything about it.
So, and I don't know much about it either, but the idea is that there are spirits that may be kind of trapped and need to kind of be set free. Is that something you agree with? You don't agree with that?
I think there's
no wrong answer.
No, I know. I'm trying to think about it because I've had so many different experiences. I mean, I sat in a circle where we'd have some spirits come in and they were just needing a little bit of extra support. They were hanging around when really they were ready to go to the light. And so we just supported them in that.
Okay.
Were they stuck? I don't think so. Do I think spirits can get stuck? No. I think that they're, and this is just my belief. So ask me again in a year. I might have other experiences that change and say otherwise.
Sure.
But I think that when we die, we let go of the physical aspect of our life, including the manner of passing. So our soul crosses over. We do have free will, even on the other side too, after we've had experienced bodily death. So if we choose to stay, come back and hang out, we can totally do that. But I think there are some spirits that hang out because they're still healing that they want to impart upon their loved one here. Some people, they really like their location, but I'll be honest, a lot of the spirits that people are so-called connecting with are in like haunted locations. A lot of them isn't actually spirits, it's residual energy. And what that means is that the event or the situation, the emotion is imprinted. Its energy is imprinted in that location, in the earth and the ground. So if we think about Gettysburg, we think about the Conjuring House, we think about a lot of these places that are haunted and they have the same scenes replaying over and over. They're like, why are they trapped? They're not. It's the memory. It's like back in the day when we had VHS tapes, right? And it would just play over and over. It's the same thing, right?
You know, it's interesting. It's interesting what you're saying, right? And let me see where this goes, right?
Yeah.
So I recently, well, last year I had an experience where I was documenting some breath work, a session that a friend was doing some really deep breath work, and it was very, very intense. You know, it was definitely a lot of energy. And when I walked away from the experience, even though like I did interviews with a couple of the people and got their specific story of what it was that they were releasing and the experience that they were going through, I walked away and I said, wow, I said, the world really needs a lot of healing. There's a lot of healing that is needed to happen. And what I got from that, and I don't know, maybe you'd call this a download or something, but what I got from that was the idea that pain wasn't the individual stories that these people had. It was a frequency. It was a specific frequency that's how it was manifesting in those people. That's how those people were connecting with that frequency through those experiences. Does that make sense to you? Does that?
Yeah, because everything is frequency. I mean, science even says energy can't be destroyed, it only changes form. And even if we look at some of the scientific testing that people were doing, like Sir William Crookes back in the late 1800s, early 1900s with mediums, they were able to use different scientific equipment and show the different forms that the energy could be present in,
Mhm,
solid,
mhm,
liquid, gas,
mhm,
whatever.
mhm,
But everything is energy. Like my
mhm,
thermos is energy, but
mhm,
the molecules move so slowly that it's
mhm,
solid. But if they move
mhm,
very, very fast, you
mhm,
can't see it with the physical eye. That's the same thing that happens with bodily
mhm.
death. But
Right.
everything is frequency.
Mhm,
Molecules are frequency. Emotions
mhm,
are
mhm,
frequency.
mhm,
This is
mhm,
why we
mhm.
have to be mindful about our lived human experiences, because that energy stays if we don't heal it and move
Right,
through it.
right.
Right. So I
Interesting,
think that's a
interesting.
really complex, I
Yeah,
think it can
yeah.
get really complex. There's
No,
lots
it
of
totally
layers to
could, and
it.
I'm like trying to visualize right now, like if it is a bandwidth, right, on a spectrum of
Yeah.
bandwidth, that and we as energetic beings are moving up and down that bandwidth all the time, right? We're tuning into certain frequencies, and there's that frequency that was tuned into, that was
Yeah.
that experience for that person that felt this way, right? That feeling, right? Because it's a feeling. That's how it kind of manifests itself as well. It's not a physical thing necessarily. Wow.
Well, look at the brain waves,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Alpha, beta,
Right.
theta, like something's happening in the brain, but those brain waves have a frequency.
Right. Right.
We can
So
measure that, and there's
our
power.
experience, yeah, our experience is happening at those different frequencies.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, and I mean, I've heard them define, say love has a frequency and hate has a frequency, and all of these
Yeah.
things. They've kind of even done experiments with that. Wow, amazing. Yeah, that's, I mean, again, that's why I think all of this to me like makes sense, right? The idea that we can talk to past loved ones, they are existing on a certain frequency, and their
Yeah.
energy is still, we could still tune into it. And
Yes.
that's what mediums do, and they just practice that. So let's talk about that for just a couple of minutes. You have a school,
Yeah.
the Connected Spirit School, where you can teach people, I guess, how to tune into their own abilities. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so the Connected Spirit School was inspired by the spirit world. I don't do anything without their inspiration, but it's about supporting aspiring ethical mediums to unlock their spiritual abilities and to be able to make an impact in the world as a professional ethical medium. And that looks like learning the connected spirit method, which is being able to connect to your own energy. There's the
Mhm,
personalization, aka the spiritualization of self. And we look at through that lens, we look at the different aspects of self, working with your energy, but also frequencies within our own soul. And then we start looking at the psychic development a little bit, because that's where we're connecting to the energy of people who are still here in the physical,
mhm,
understanding energy, learning how to perceive that energy and make sense of it. And then we work on bringing through a spirit communicator. So somebody who's passed over to the other side, and bringing through that evidential mediumship that I touched about or
mhm,
talked on a little bit earlier in the show. And
mhm,
we help mediums in all of their development. So it's not just here, I'm going to teach you how to make a spirit link and channel a message in
mhm,
3 tips, 3 steps.
mhm,
No, we approach it from a holistic point of view, because,
mhm,
in my opinion, and I mean, I've been the student. I am a student. I'll always be a lifelong student. So I don't claim
mhm,
to have all
mhm,
of the know-how. And but what I've seen is that there's big gaps in the mediumship development. And that, one, it's manufactured. Two, and what I mean by that, the manufactured, is they taken the naturalness out of spirit communication. It's very, very natural. Because we're all spirit. It's just our mind that needs the training. And
mhm,
then the
mhm,
second part is we look at how to work with our unique abilities, because everybody's different. A lot of teachings today, modern teachings are, I'm going to show you how to meditate. And in 15 minutes after you've meditated, I'm going to show you how to make a link with the spirit world. And then here's the checklist. And I want you to bring through all of this kind of
mhm,
information.
mhm,
That's
mhm.
not the way it works. As
Right.
mediums, we need to raise our vibration, move ourselves into this passive state so we can become receptive to the presence of the spirit and
Mhm,
describe what they're giving us, what they're
mhm.
sharing with us, in a way that is just like how you and I are talking.
Yeah.
And so we remove all of the, with good intentions. I mean, there's some
Mhm.
good
Sure.
intentions, but there's
Sure.
too much rigidity in, I
Yeah.
think, some of the frameworks, and it's actually stopping people from being able to allow the spirit world to come in close, to blend properly, and to be
Mhm.
able to receive it in a way that feels easy.
Yeah,
Mediumship isn't hard if you know the fundamentals.
sure.
And so we just approach it from a holistic point of view, you as the human, you as the soul being, you as the medium, and we bring it
Right.
together in a very easy, spirit-led, digestible methodology.
Yeah.
And to see how quickly people can have confidence, bring through an actual evidential message,
Mhm.
but bring the healing essence of the communicator of what they're wanting to convey.
Right.
It gives me goosebumps. I love it.
I'm
And
getting goosebumps hearing about it, and
yeah, I
I
love
tell
it.
my audience all the time. I'm like, I wouldn't go to a psychic medium myself and be like, oh, I have a question, but I
Yeah.
have like a psychic fetish. Like I love being around psychics doing readings because I can experience that energetic exchange,
Yeah.
through empathy or whatever it might be. I
Mhm.
definitely I experience it, and it gives me the goosebumps or it makes me cry. You know what I mean? It just feels amazing. um and I just want to give a little shout out. I see Bernadette had another question, and I just want to also give a shout out to Evelyn who answered her. But Bernadette says, how do you deal with skeptics, which I want you to answer in a second. But Evelyn said, I don't waste my energy on them, Bernadette. Just shine and be your beautiful self, you, which is probably how I would have answered that question. But how do you deal with skeptics?
I don't.
I don't. Right.
I'm not here to convert people.
That's right.
And as mediums, we're the voice, we're the mouthpiece for the spirit world. And our job is to deliver those messages to people who are receptive to that.
Right.
And if people aren't, that's okay. Maybe at one point in their life they will, because sadly, all of us are not going to escape the human experience of grief. And
Mhm.
everybody can benefit from mediumship
Yeah.
to support them in that grief journey, but they have a choice as to whether their mind and heart are open to that. And if they're
Totally.
not, then I trust that their loved ones on the other side will find a way to bring that
Mm.
healing into their life.
Oh, I love that. You have a lot of trust. I love that. I want to bring it back to something that you said too about, training and how it's not just a checklist.
Yeah.
But besides that, you mentioned some things that I think even predetermine that, right? And that is the idea of self-love or being connected to yourself, right? I think that a lot of people, and you said this, not only do I think that a lot of people aren't connected to themselves, and I think there is intention to that, bigger
Mhm.
forces at work, but not only do I think a lot of people aren't connected to themselves, I think a lot of people don't even realize that they're not connected to themselves. So it's even like bringing someone to that realization, like, hey, before I take you into connecting to spirit, you need to connect to yourself. And you need to even know that you're not connected to yourself. I mean, that's got to be tough to be able to tell people that.
Well, I don't tell people that. I show them
Right.
through the framework, right?
Of course, of course.
And they discover it for themselves, but it's not about saying you aren't connected to yourself, shame on
Right.
you. It's about let us help you remember that soul being within, and it usually happens within the first class, and it's emotional
Right.
because we are humans. We have a lot of
Mhm.
crappy things that we witness or experience, and that hurts us. And what do? We pull away from that pain. But
Mhm. Mhm.
through the mediumship development journey, we begin to heal those parts of self, and
Yeah,
it brings wholeness to us. And that actually enhances the quality
totally.
of the readings and the messages that we can bring through, because our personal life and our lived experiences impact our mediumship. And so, some people think, oh, I can't be a medium because I've had trauma and I've had pain, or I'm this, that, and the other. And it's like, no, no, spirit meets you where you're at. And
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
through that development journey, we look at that, but we also bring the spirit world in to support you through that too.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
not just all or nothing. And I mean, it's been the biggest healing journey for me,
I can
for
imagine.
sure.
I can imagine
I'm
that.
still healing.
That's one of the things I love. And again, the psychic fetish thing was my friend
Yeah.
Christopher Allen. I would watch him give readings and they would bring me to tears, but I would also see him like, tearing up and I was like, and we would talk about it. And I know that those messages healed him. They weren't just to heal the recipient. Like, he received healing through transmitting the message and bringing that message through, which is amazing. I think that's really something amazing. I'm imagining that there's probably a lot of crying in your classes.
I wouldn't say there's tons, but there's
Okay.
some emotional moments.
It's a good
And
thing. It's a good thing.
yeah,
I
it's a
love
good
that
thing.
cry. Yeah.
It is. It's different though, because it's not like tears of sadness or pain. It's of
Mhm.
release.
Mm.
It's of freedom. It's of, yeah, like that inner peace. I
Mhm.
mean, there's nothing like it. And when you've been touched
Mm.
by the presence of the spirit, you're forever changed. You can't go back, because I have experienced, but also believe that the spirit world is an expression of love,
Mhm.
like unconditional love without
Mhm.
boundaries, without
Mhm.
ego. And
Mhm.
when you touch that, sometimes the only way you can respond is through tears and through
Yeah.
emotions. Like, we can have happy tears, right?
Totally.
Tears of joy, all of that. And the spirit
Yeah.
world brings that through. And I just tell people, and it's interesting because my last round of circles that just wrapped up in June, we're starting again. Actually, tomorrow night, my one circle starting. I have 3 this year. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
I know it's a lot. But this one girl, she was used to just reading with
Mhm.
like pen and paper. And she could only read like this by scribbling and writing everything
Mhm.
down. And I said, it kept her so focused on, she was so focused on the writing and bringing stuff through. It actually created a bit of space between her and the spirit. I'm like, let's let them come in. Can you just humor me for like a couple classes and not use that? Right.
Mm.
Just humor me and see if it
Right.
works. And I could see it was making her uncomfortable. She had to
Mhm.
surrender. She had to let go of control.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then that started to unpack a lot of other stuff where she was controlling in
Mhm.
her own life, where she wasn't ready to surrender. The
Mhm.
reasons why, it starts to unpack. It's like an onion, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, oh God, I said to spirit, I think she's going to drop out. And they said, no, she's not. And I could have sworn by 3 weeks she was going to be out. And then she started bringing through the names. She started
Mm.
using that connection with the spirit world, trusting thyself, knowing
Mhm. Mhm.
thyself.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I mean, she's done incredible. I had her on my podcast. I think it
Wow.
was, would have been in August, because she was just incredible. What she did in 6 months by just entertaining what spirit has shown me how to work with
Yep.
mediums. She's like, Courtney, it was so freeing. And I don't toot my horn. I give all the credit to the spirit world,
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
FYI. But it's neat though, because we can get so set in our ways, and spirit's like, but there's a better way. Spirit's
Yeah.
like, there's an easier way.
Yeah.
And so mediumship benefits everybody. It
I,
really, in
I
my
I
opinion,
love
I
it.
think
Yeah.
it is.
No, I love it, and I love being in the community and watching different people kind of pursue different things that call to them, and
Yeah.
I've seen so many people change and things happen, and it's just, I mean, it's all real, and even for myself, I'm looking forward to, like, all of a sudden one day, like, maybe I'm trans channeling, and like, I just get to the point where I'm able to let go, right, to that next level. I think that's what it is. I love that moment that we were describing, when you're in a conversation with someone, and you're not even talking about like a specific memory or a specific thing, but something that's being in the conversation just hits you, and you feel it come, you feel the cry. All of a sudden, you're just like, oh
Yeah.
my God, I don't know why I'm crying, but I'm crying. And like you said,
Yeah.
it feels like release. It feels like, wow, this is supposed to be happening. This is like amazing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I can just remember many moments where it's like, holy moly, I'm crying, but I'm like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? It's like, it feels so good, and I think,
Absolutely. We always say like mediumship is about healing. It's
yeah,
healing for the recipient, it's healing for the spirit world, but it's also healing for us. And
yeah,
there's no shame in crying. So people know in my space, in my school, if they need to cry, it's okay.
yeah,
And we hold space for those people.
that's it.
And the more we heal, the clear channel we become for the presence of the spirit.
It's amazing. Those moments are amazing. KB asks a good question here. What do you believe current modern day mediumship will evolve to?
I got to take a big sigh with that one.
We were talking a little bit about the inauthenticity. Well, we definitely see a saturation happening of a market, right? But the market doesn't negate energy, the real energy, right? That energy is infinite, right? So that's gonna be there regardless. But I like that question.
What do I believe the current modern day mediumship will evolve to? I think that it's already evolving. I mean, we had in the, let's say, modern times, so people that are watching, let's say the 1980s, 1990s, people thought mediumship was psychic readings. It really wasn't. But we've had some incredible mediums who have been on television and written books like Sylvia Brown, John Edward, James Van Praagh, and they've demonstrated that evidential mediumship. And but it's grown and evolved more. I think modern mediumship, and this is what the spirit world has been talking to me about, so I adjust my teachings based on what they tell me. It's not going to be just so hyper focused on the evidence, the evidence, the evidence. Like even when the last time I was at Arthur Findlay College 2 years ago, we were doing platform and they said that 70% of your message needs to be evidence, and then, 70 to 80, and then 20 to 30% needs to be the message. But it's changing because once you've identified the spirit communicator, so your recipient knows who you're talking to, why are you not letting the spirit person tell their story and say, hey, I love you. I'm sorry. Hey, I forgive you. This is what's been going on. This is how I'm showing up in your life. Like, we're storytellers for the world of spirit. And if we're controlling, I think there's going to be less control in the mediumship. And if we're not careful and evolving with the spirit world, I do think mediumship, evidential mediumship, is going to die out if we don't start evolving with the spirit world. So with that being said, I love evidential mediumship. But if I give let's say 5 pieces of evidence, or even 10 pieces of evidence, and let's say Stacia knows who I'm talking about, maybe spirit wants to give a little bits more, right? But if they're like, Courtney, tell her this, share this with her, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Because some rigid checklist or outdated framework says I can't. Heck no, I don't work for no checklist. I work for the spirit world every day. So I think that's a big thing with respect to evidential mediumship. But I also think that there's going to be a decline in some of the quality, to be honest with you, because and we're seeing it now, a lot of people saying they're mediums, but what they're giving is actually psychic readings. And that, to me, I mean, you can tell when somebody is talking about just the living person, so somebody who's still here on the earth, is talking about everything that has to do with the recipient, their life, what's going on, the situation that's stressing them out, their career, whatever. And they're not talking about anything to do with the spirit communicator. I mean, that's an easy red flag. Dude, you're reading psychically. And some of these people started out with good intentions, but I think they got a little overzealous taking weekend workshops, or maybe taking a 6-week course, and now they think they can go set up shop, but they're not taking the time to really understand the world of spirit and how they work with mediums. They're not taking the time to truly develop it and their gifts. And what's happening is they're diluting the power of the spirit. And that is seen in the quality of the messages. It's not okay if you're working evidentially to say, who is the woman whose birthday was in the last 6 months? Who was the smoker in the family that passed? If you asked me that, I would have dozens of people. Like that vague stuff isn't good enough anymore. We got to do better by the spirit world. Because if I die, if some medium says she's short and she's warm and loving and she liked to read books and that's it. No. How about my lived experiences? How about, there's the Courtney here, there's the Courtney in her day-to-day life. There's like, you need to bring better to the table. And that's not it. And I'm saying that as a judgment out of respect to the spirit world, because They really deserve better. And we're seeing it. There's so many people that want to do this work, but they're rushing it. And it's like,
Mhm.
take time. It's kind of like
Mhm.
you can go to the freezer section of the grocery store and get a microwave meal ready in 5 to 7 minutes.
Right.
You have your steak dinner, or you're going to go to a restaurant and get your nice prime rib with
Right.
your baked potato, all of that.
Yeah.
There's still this technically the same type of dinner, but the quality and the
Right.
substance isn't even comparable. You know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. It's a great, and I love that analogy. Definitely, yeah. There's a big difference between a microwave steak
Yeah.
and a nice fresh steak, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
great.
seeing that. I'm seeing that. And I just think we can do better. So let's do better.
Yeah, yeah. I agree, and I think that people are becoming more discerning, and I think that you know, yes, I think there's in any field there's always going to be charlatans, right? In any industry, and there's always going to be people who fall for the charlatans. But I think that's the whole idea of trying to raise the vibration of humanity so that we all become better people, we all become more loving towards each other,
Hmm.
more existing more for a collective than for ourselves, which would really make an amazing uh, a life for everybody. If everybody was just here for everybody else.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's what we're here for. The Sacred Spiral Network. The people who watch this show, we're all here to make everybody's day brighter and try to be better people, raise the vibration overall. You're amazing to talk to, Courtney.
Oh,
Uh,
thank
I
you.
love everything that you've said. The way that you talk about what you do and the clarity in describing it and how it helps people and how to connect to people, and what we talked about, the idea of helping people understand, even like, hey, maybe you want to like relax and connect to yourself a little bit, without saying it. You said it much better than I do. But I see it. I definitely see it. And yes, I definitely don't say that to people when I'm around them, but being who I am, just having a nice calming presence and just being non-judgmental, these are the things that we can do. Having compassion, right? To,
Yep.
like I said at the beginning, the people who are living in fear, be compassionate, and I think that love is that's all you can do, really, right? You can't tell someone who's living in fear, don't live in fear. All you can do is be love,
Yes.
and let them feel it. Evelyn says love fest. It's usually a love fest here. Love is the best. Jennifer says, Courtney, you represent the mediumship and spirit world so well. I'm gonna agree.
Oh,
You're
oh,
definitely
thank you.
an
Thank you.
amazing psychic medium to talk to. So passionate. I would definitely love to definitely have you back, first of all, to do readings when you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would love to work with you too, personally, because I feel like, I don't know specifically what it is that needs to be developed. And like I said, I'm just looking forward to it, like to one day just
Yeah.
come face to face with it, because I know it's there. I mean, I come face to face with different things every day. Even sitting in this chair being the host of a show, I never thought I would ever do that. I was always behind the scenes, producing rather than being the face of something. But this has been a great ride. So thank you for you. Thank you for everyone who's come and shared their energy with us tonight. I see Jesse Del Rey just showed up in the audience. What's up, Jesse? Good to see you too. A lot of amazing psychic mediums all supporting each other here
Hmm.
in the Sacred Spiral Network. I really love that. Do you have any parting words of wisdom or love or advice or
Yeah.
a joke? Maybe
There,
a dad joke?
I'm not a joker. Oh God, I can't even go there. No, it's just not me. My husband's good at that. But what I would say is that if you're feeling the call to really step into your soul calling as an ethical medium, know that there's enough space in this work for all of you. There's enough space in the community for all of you, because
Absolutely.
your lived experiences and who you are as a human today is what is the perfect medicine for somebody that's out there needing connection, needing healing. And you don't have to be anybody else but you. You know, be a rebel, be yourself these days, you know. And if you're looking for, you know, more support on developing your mediumship, you can visit my website at mediumcourtneydawson.com or check me out on all my socials. The handle is at mediumcourtneydawson, and I'd love to connect and support you. And just thank you so much for having me, Michael.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thank you. Don't go away. I'm going to run the credits. I'm going to, and I will see you afterwards, folks. Thank you guys so much for being here, and Jennifer and everybody who says they're enjoying the show. That means so much to me, because you guys have shows. You guys know what it's like. It really means a lot that whatever it is I'm doing here is resonating with you guys. So thank you for being here, and Courtney, thank you for being here, and I will see you guys next week. Peace.